Ta-da! We're live on air. We are live, do not swear.
Oh,
Yeah. Although I have a bit of a potty mouth, so don't worry about that too much. Hello! For anybody who might catch this live stream or watch it a little bit later, my name's Nadine, and I am here with Pippa this morning. Pippa is a member in our Braintree group of EBN. She's a private client lawyer, and I'm forcing her out into the world to say hello to everybody so you can get to find out a little bit about what Pippa does. So, Pippa, tell us a little bit about what you do, because what you do can be quite niche. Not many people doing the exact sort of work that you do. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I do sort of the what I'll call the mainstream private client work: wills, probate, power of attorney. Personally, I don't deal with court of protection work, so that goes to my colleagues. So, or anything maybe where it's borderline on capacity issues. But one of the areas that is less common, shall we say, or fewer lawyers tend to do this work, I'm not quite sure why, I really enjoy it, is trust work, but also trusts for vulnerable or disabled beneficiaries. It's an area of work I really enjoy. It's a nice combination of kind of what I'll call the geeky academic lawyer in me gets happy, but also that, you know, being able to help vulnerable people, or rather, usually it's the parents or carers of vulnerable people that you're helping, because a lot of the time the beneficiaries in question are not aware.
Ah, okay, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it might be quite challenging with families sometimes doing the line of work that you do.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think there's always the impact of grieving, and that changes people, and I don't think that's appreciated very widely. But I always factor that in when I'm, particularly in probate situations, or like I say, trust situations with disabled or other vulnerable beneficiaries, which might include someone that's got, really severe addictions or things like that, people come to lawyers in stressful situations. They're not going to be at their best, are they? So it's always
no. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I think whatever the situation, if you've got to the point where you need legal help of any description, things have taken a turn for the worse somehow, haven't they?
I mean, yes, in theory, some of my work, that should not be the case. What we're hoping to do, particularly with the vulnerable persons or other trust work, is actually set up things in place so that stuff doesn't hit the fan. So managing, it's estate planning. Estate planning, everyone just goes, oh, inheritance tax. For me, it means a lot more than that. And for a lot of families, it does. Because yes, money is important, unfortunately. But actually, if you've got a loved one who cannot look after themselves, estate planning also means setting up structures so that when you're gone, there's something in place for them.
Yeah, and it's complex, isn't it? And things are always changing, laws are always changing about what you can and can't do, and how it's not something that people can really navigate very well on their own, I shouldn't imagine. Searching on Google and things like that, trying to find answers about what to do.
I think the emphasis is very well. People do. People try to. And I get, some of the work that I get is where things have gone wrong because someone's tried to fumble through it. Unfortunately, in some cases, that is other professionals, although not usually regulated solicitors. And I do emphasise that, distinguishing between a regulated solicitor and a will writer, for example. And I spend a lot of my time professionally unravelling bad work as well.
So, yeah, that doesn't sound like much fun.
Okay, like solving a puzzle that someone has really made a hash of. It's good work.
Okay, interesting. So what do you get up to when you're not helping people with all of this stuff? What goes on in Pippa's life outside of work? Anything exciting?
No, I'm not exciting. I enjoy very simple things. I started with a PT in July, and actually I did it to sort of be functional and be able to pick up my nephew, who's now very heavy, in sort of 10 years time as well, and things like that. But I've really ended up enjoying it and got slightly addicted now to weightlifting. So that's fun.
That's cool. It's a good hobby to have, a good addiction to have, right?
It is. And I mean, I've practiced yoga for 20 plus years now. So it's balancing, I guess, that now, because I've got super flexible, but I need to now focus on the strength. But no, otherwise gardening, walking, spending time with friends and family. So I'm an aunt of two lovely children, but one of them, my nephew, is 2.5. So we all know what that means. Love him, but there are days where I'm glad to come home.
Yeah, that's the beauty, isn't it, when they're not your own? Yeah, I'm looking forward to not yet, but when my children are producing their own children that I can hand back. Although they're under strict instructions, it can't be any time soon because they're 22 and nearly 17. So I don't expect them for a very long time. But I'm looking forward to the enjoyment of cute cuddly babies and cute cuddly toddlers, and then handing them back so I can sleep when they get too boisterous.
Yeah.
And so what sort of area do you cover sort of geographically with can you work with anyone anywhere, or how does that kind of work?
So it depends what it is, because of course, I mean, what COVID did bring us was much more flexible working, and in terms of also how solicitors are regulated, it's now acceptable to conduct client work online. Mm-hmm. So if a client is able and willing and can do online, as long as they're not vulnerable, there's no limit on, geography. There are plenty of people, and I can understand this, it's still nicer meeting in person. So geographical scope is Braintree, Chelmsford, Colchester, Sudbury. For myself personally, we've got Clacton and Billericay as well, FJG wide. So, okay. But those are the areas that I cover currently anyway. But
yeah, oh, fantastic. And something when you were talking popped into my head to ask you, and it's completely gone now because that's how my menopausal brain works. I have a great thought and then it just disappears into the ether, never to be found again, which is really frustrating. It may come back if I keep waffling, but I'm not entirely convinced that it will. Do you have a lot of people kind of that get in touch with you? Because obviously we've got the delightful budget coming up in a few weeks' time, which I guess obviously is some sort of impact on what you do. So are you able to kind of field questions from people that they might be concerned about things that they've got set up or what they might need to put in place if there's changes in the budget?
I'm not one to speculate, and actually I make that very clear to my clients. I've had some clients say we were discussing various options for their wills, and they've said we want to hold fire until the budget and then we'll come back to you, which is fine.
Yeah.
If a client says, what do you think I should do in case XYZ happens, I'm a firm believer of crossing bridges when the river is there. There's no point doing it before.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Thank you. Is there anything particular that you would like to share that you think could benefit people if they've got things on their mind, questions, worries about any of the sorts of things that you deal with?
So I think the main thing that arises is not assuming that because your mate down the pub or your neighbour or your aunt has done XYZ, that is the right thing for you to do. Clients often get in a bit of a panic, I think, about, oh, well, they've done that. Why haven't we done that with our wills, our property, our trusts, whatever? There might be a good reason for that. It's very one size doesn't fit all, and that might sound obvious, but it's amazing how many people forget that. It really just depends. And also it's about priorities. One of my favourite phrases is not letting the tax tail wag the dog. That was something that a barrister said to me donkeys years ago, and it stuck with me. And I think it's so true. And you get clients that their only goal is inheritance tax or other tax saving at the cost of actually achieving something they probably don't even want to achieve. And then you have other clients that say, look, we know that this is not the most tax efficient way of planning things, but this is actually what we want for our family. And I really admire that approach, to be honest, where it's possible. You know, if there's family that do desperately need to inherit for whatever reason, then it might look a bit different. So yeah, basically it's not assuming that what you're doing is wrong per se. There is rarely a wrong or a right in terms of how you decide to proceed with your estate planning, trust, whatever it is. It's just making sure it's right for you.
Yeah, and you know, you're absolutely right. People listen to mates down the pub or whatever, and often get terrible advice. And it's true with anything, isn't it? People can be having conversations about all sorts of things, and they'll hear this, that, and the other from people that actually probably don't know what they're talking about some of the time either, which is not particularly helpful. And the wonderful Google and ChatGPT and all of these things, people can try to search for things, but actually, if the information is right or wrong or credible, they're not really going to know any of that without speaking to an expert at the end of the day, are they?
And as we know, Google lawyers, Google doctors, Google whatever it is, can only take you so far, because it depends on the input and the analysis of that data. That's where you know, I've got, you know, they're sort of scaremongering about AI will replace XYZ professions. No, they won't. At least not for the foreseeable future, because we still need a human brain to really apply it to the facts. And as we know, there's more than that to it. The area of law that I do it's emotive. So even if something is technically maybe correct, it doesn't, again, going back to is it correct for that client in terms of what their values or goals are in their life as well, or their death, as it were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if somebody has, wants to have a conversation with you about this, what is the first step? Do you do an initial, is there like a kind of initial consultation, or how is best to sort of proceed if someone wants to talk to you?
Yeah, so they can, just contact us. Some areas of law, I think, are more available for sort of an initial free consultation. I think fewer and fewer lawyers are doing that nowadays, because it's something that, I did maybe about 10 years ago, but it was exploited. Don't offer free initial consultations. That doesn't mean that I won't chat to people on the phone. I will, of course, for free.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually giving advice, particularly because the nature of the work I do tends to not be straightforward, we need to actually have a proper meeting, a full fact find, go through all the options for the client, and then go from there, really.
Okay. Is it quite a lengthy, time-consuming process for people to go through, or is it something that can be dealt with quite quickly once you've got that kind of initial fact-finding out of the way?
So it depends on the client. I'm usually waiting for clients. I'm rarely the cause of delay unless I'm off sick for a very long time, which is and also it depends what it is, get a will in place. So I do kind of deathbed wills as well. Then of course there's a very quick turnaround because it has to be. But someone setting up perhaps long-term planning for a trust for a disabled person, that can take a few months, usually because the client just needs time to go through the advice that's provided and consider it, because it is much more involved. Yeah.
And how important is it for people to start thinking about this sort of stuff if they haven't already and don't have anything in place? What would you say to people?
Just get something in place, because the fallout when something isn't in place. I've had cohabitees who assumed that, well, we've lived together like husband and wife, there's bound to be an exemption for tax purposes. There wasn't. So someone, was at risk of losing their home when their unmarried partner died because there was an inheritance tax bill. It's mildly infuriating at best when someone doesn't plan and then we have to do something in an urgent situation. It's high risk, it's unpleasant and stressful for all parties involved. There's nothing that beats better planning. And it's not to say that planning's permanent. You know, circumstances change, but get something in place. You know, if we're talking about wills or powers of attorney, I often describe powers of attorney as an insurance document. Hopefully it's something you'll never use, like your home insurance, but you'd be stuffed if you don't have it.
And I guess you come across it all too often when, as I say, people don't have anything in place, like you mentioned, and things can go horrendously wrong, and you have all of that to deal with on top of a stressful situation full of grief and upset, and then you have all this financial worry to try to work your way through. It's the last thing that anybody wants, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. The last thing, I mean, it's hard enough when, you know, if we're talking about a probate, when someone dies, it's difficult enough. There is a ton of stuff to do. But at least if there's a well-drafted will in place, you've got some structure to it. And even so, you know, clients often feel a little bit lost when it comes to applying for probate, just because of the sense of overwhelm. Without a will, that's exacerbated.
And probate's a lengthy process, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that's done in a flash, is it?
No, I mean, again, it depends. But the probate registry, their timescale, I think now it's just reduced to 12 weeks, but it was 16 weeks, you know, as a bare minimum for issuing a grant of probate. And that's once you've got the application to them. And yeah, if there's inheritance tax, then it can take much longer because you need proper valuations.
Yeah. Avoid a potential mess and talk to Pippa, basically. It's one of those things, though. I think you consider it as you're getting older, but probably don't consider it really as when you're a younger person. It's not until you're older that you perhaps I should start thinking about that, but you know, you never know what's going to happen in the future, do you? You never know what can happen tomorrow. So
yeah, there's trigger events when I tend to get clients come to me. Firstborn child, that's when parents, you know, they're suddenly conscientious and realise that, you know, they are now responsible for a little human. Or when someone has recently been through the probate process and they can see how much easier it is with a will. Or sadly, again, those which tend to be the more urgent ones if someone's had a diagnosis that's terminal.
Yeah. Must be quite. Do you find, like, can you detach yourself? It must be quite emotional for you. Like, you're probably having some very difficult conversations with people. How do you find that?
So while I'm on the job, as it were, I enjoy that human element because it makes my job feel worthwhile.
Yeah.
But yes, there's an impact. I've definitely struggled at times with the what will we call it? Vicarious grieving, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard. I've been on. I mean, and again, I actually think that's made me a better lawyer because I've cried with clients before. I had a client who was lovely. I had him he was a client of mine sort of on and off for about 3-4 years, and sadly committed suicide. And his daughter called me in floods, and he'd taken his life at home. And she said, "Dad spoke so highly of you. I'm scared of going back into the home to face the trauma. Would you come in with me?" You know, and you have these moments where you think, I'm not qualified for this.
Yeah.
But also, what a lovely. It sounds weird, but what a lovely thing to be able to. So yeah, there's a lot of emotion with it, or can be, but yeah, that usually gets released on the yoga mat after work.
or lifting weights now, or maybe as well, because you've got that.
Yeah, that's probably in the morning going, and then in the evening I can have a nice stretch and a cry if needed.
Yeah. With a gin or a glass of wine, maybe.
No, I'm too much of a lightweight to be able to enjoy that.
Oh, bless you. Well, it's very nice to find out a little bit more about what you do, Pippa. And how is the best way for people to contact you? Do they go onto the FJG website and find you through there, or?
Yeah, they can. So pretty much, although we've got several phone numbers, there is the Sudbury office phone numbers on there. People can email me, or you know, fortunately, having a name like Pippa Bavington, there's no one else called that. I'm easy to track down. You know, even sort of, you know, clients maybe from years ago can find me and have found me very easily. So that's what having an unusual name.
Yeah, fabulous, fantastic. So, and also people can come along to EBN Braintree, where Pippa is a member of, and get to meet Pippa in real life, which is very nice. So the Braintree group meets on alternate Wednesdays. So their next meeting is not this week, it's the following Wednesday, but everything's on the website, so you can scan the QR code that's on the screen at the moment, and you will be able to go onto the Effective Business Network website, see all the different locations of the meetings, including the Braintree one, and book yourself a ticket. Come and join us. Everybody's very lovely, as I'm sure Pippa will attest to, as she's a new member. They won her over in Braintree, and it's a lovely little group, isn't it, Braintree? And all the groups, they're so supportive, and have really got each other's back, which is really lovely. So have a lovely weekend. Thank you for your time today, Pippa. Thank you for allowing us to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, and how you help everybody. And if it's something that's of interest, then give Pippa a shout, and she'll have a chat with you on the phone, see what to take it from there. Have a lovely weekend, and thank you very much.